Good night and welcome to the newest talk show on the block, Cut Deep. I'm Cindy Roseanne Jones, your host. Most of you may know me from my Facebook platform. I thought it important to transition and or to add to my Facebook reach, to extend my platform and be able to share more with you, my listening audience. The concept of Cut Deep was developed about a year ago with a focus on encouraging the wider public to think more in depth on issues that plague us, encouraging persons to have a voice and to use that voice to invoke change. Cut Deep is an interactive platform cutting through the noise and political rhetoric. It is raw, uncut, challenging you to think critically. What do the issues mean for us? What part do we play? It is a platform that will move the Virgin Islands toward unified, integrated success. Cut Deep Season 1 will be featured on 284 Media on Tuesdays from 8 to 9 p.m. Once again, welcome to the first season and episode of Cut Deep. We'll take a break and be right back.
Is business slow, cash flow down, hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Let's dive right into it. Tonight, we're breaking down the stimulus package presented by the Premier last Thursday, May 28th. We will also discuss our relationship with the UK from the perspective of the Protocol for Effective Financial Management. The stimulus package breakdown. Prior to the Premier's announcement of the Territory's stimulus package, Her Majesty's loyal opposition under the leadership of the Honourable Marlon Penn presented some well-thought-out ideas. Again, I commend the opposition for putting these ideas on the table for consideration. I recall Claude Skelton saying on his show Honestly Speaking last week that the opposition had no call presenting a plan. Well, contrary to his belief, the opposition is definitely in a position to offer solutions. The public can offer solutions. The government administration should be grateful for participation by its citizens, especially in times of crisis. After all, this territory belongs to all of us. The Honourable Premier presented his government administration's stimulus package to the Territory on May 28th. While I commend the Premier for bringing forth a much-needed package, there are many questions and grave concerns. Let us first look at what was presented. A $62.9 million stimulus package was presented to the people. $40 million grant from the Social Security Board, $17 million for affordable housing loan from Social Security, $2 million infrastructure grant from Social Security, and $3.9 from central government. $40 million breakdown. $10 million for underemployment, $6.5 million for businesses, $1 million for hospitality businesses, $1 million for churches, daycares, private schools, $2 million for farmers and fisher folk, $1 million for taxi operators, $1 million for social needs, I'm stuttering on these millions, $7.5 million for NHI, $9 million for homes affected by Irma Maria, $17 million for the Affordable Housing Project, and $2 million on infrastructure, a total of $59 million from Social Security. Think about those numbers. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we will be speaking with the leader of the opposition, the Honourable Marlon Penn.
Father Jesus, that line you long like church service.
Alright, do enjoy the rest of the day. Next customer line, please. Wait, hold on a second.
Yes, Sonny boy, come, yes, son.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sonny boy. Hold on there. You must have cut fun people.
It's okay, I'll take care of it.
What? No man, to take care of me.
How may I assist you?
Yes.
You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Joining me tonight is the leader of Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition, the Honorable Marlon Penn. Honorable Penn, thank you for joining us. Let me just be clear straight out. I fully support a cash injection into the economy. It is needed, however, just not from our Social Security retirement plan. We saw images today of unprecedented numbers of persons outside of Social Security that are hoping to get assistance from the stimulus package. Social Security seems overwhelmed. We have gotten reports of the government admin in Virgin Gorda being overwhelmed and no forms for applicants. There are reports that when contacting the electricity department on the amnesty, the response is that we have not heard from management. This scenario, this entire scenario is taking me back to where I've said before that the government seems to be operating ad hoc. No set plan organized. Honorable Marlon Penn, what is your take on this situation?
First of all, Cindy, I want to thank you. I want to congratulate you on the official launch of Cut Deep. I'm honored to be your first guest. Such a social media personality, I think you stimulate the conversation and make people think. And based on your intro, I know that's the intention of the show. And I'm glad to be part of your official launch of Cut Deep. And I see we have the mugs alkaline.
Thank you for being here, and we'll take a drink.
Yeah. For the public's edification, this is not alcohol. So I want to make that disclaimer very clear.
Very clear.
No, but to your question, Sydney, I believe that, I mean, as you rightfully said in your intro, it was important for us to really do something for this territory. We, as an opposition, initially thought that we tried to work with the government to get some discussion going on a stimulus package for the people of this territory. We saw the challenges that people were facing around the territory. So we pushed to get that conversation, which wasn't forthcoming, and we decided to put our heads together, talk to persons in the business community, talk to the regular man in the street to hear their concerns, and we put together a plan that we thought was a good, well thought out plan for the people of the territory. Subsequently, the Premier has, as you said, brought his plan forward. I am, as I expressed in my response to his plan, I have some specific concerns with the plan. My concern, first and foremost, is the funding for the plan. We outlined that Social Security is going to be the chief funder of these initiatives that have been outlined by the Premier. Some $40+ million, I understand. And now that you add the numbers up, it's much higher than what we heard on the preview. My concern is that that is being done, and our concern is that it's being done as a grant. And what I want people to be clear on, that I'm not saying that I don't want funding to go towards support for persons who are extreme hardship during COVID-19, or businesses or small businesses, which we've identified, or individuals who are unemployed. But when you're talking about Social Security's money, and talking about using Social Security's money as a grant meaning that it will not be paid back, meaning that once the government gets this money and they disperse this money will not be paid back to Social Security. This is not just the government's money. This is the people's money.
But this is not the government's money.
Well, this is the pensioners of this territory.
Correct. We're the ones that pay into this pension fund. Nothing goes from government per se as a tax or into this. This is the people's money.
Of course, and government probably pays contributions for its employees, but that's a legal responsibility.
Correct.
And that money is placed there for persons who might have particular benefits that Social Security offer, unemployment, sick leave, benefits, maternity benefits. And when you retire at 65, there's a pension benefit that persons get from Social Security. What we are concerned that we've not heard anything specific in terms of, we heard that there was an actuary study. We don't know how viable Social Security is. We know Social Security's money is invested on the stock market. A lot of investments are done through stocks, bonds, and different vehicles on the market. The market has taken a hit, Cindy.
Yep.
We don't know what is the implication for the investments that Social Security has in the market. Then there's the local investment that Social Security has invested in the territory. What is the current viability of the fund? Can this be done? Is this even legal? Is this legal for us to take $40 million grant from Social Security? We heard previously the board came up with a statement saying that they cannot pay unemployment benefit based on the structure of the fund and how it works. And now we are hearing
They did put out something.
Yeah, less than a month later, now we're hearing that they could give a $40 million grant.
$40 million.
That won't be paid back. So those are the concerns that we have.
$59 million.
Well, see, that's even more concerning
The
to us.
numbers are up.
So we as a people, the pensioners of this territory, persons who contribute to Social Security Board, we have to know the facts. Of course, persons want the support, they want the relief, which is important, but we also have to make sure that the monies, if taken out, could be recouped somehow, or if it leaves the system is stable enough, has the viability and the stability to be able to pay pensioners at the end of the process. Because at the end of the day, this is the pensioners' money, and we would better think this would be better served if it were, even if it was a zero interest loan to be deferred payments to be paid back into the fund would be a better approach for the fund.
So in being a pensioner yourself and step outside of your position as the opposition leader, just as a pensioner, when the government made this stimulus presentation, how did you feel to know that this amount of money would be coming from your pension?
I was stunned because I've been a contributor to Social Security Board from the day one when I started to work. So from 17 years old, as soon as I came out of high school, I've been contributing.
That's correct.
So I myself is looking forward to my 65th year when I could then start claiming on Social Security. So I need to know that the fund is viable, that the fund is sound, not just for me, but all the other pensioners that have been been diligently making their contribution to the fund to ensure that in future days. And not only that, Cindy, Hurricane Irma, Maria, the floods, August floods, and now the pandemic and the hurricanes in the Bahamas has taught us that at any time disaster can strike.
Exactly.
And it could strike in a way that debilitates your economy and puts you in a very vulnerable position.
And when that happens, you have to think about restructuring your plans for that year and not just trying to cram everything in, make sure you get your plans done, and still on top of that.
Yeah.
So,
and just quickly, and it's important for us to ensure that the funds we could recoup those funds, and funds could continue to be a revolving fund that supports in those eventualities and things that might happen, unforeseen things that could happen during disasters.
Correct.
And taking a grant doesn't protect us from that.
Correct. In reviewing the Premier's presentation and reviewing what the opposition presented, I did not see any common areas. Did he take any of the opposition's suggestions under consideration?
I think the underemployed aspect of it, similar to what we sort of suggested.
Funds for the unemployment?
Unemployment. But what we suggested, though, is something that was contributory. That's something that you amortize over a certain period that will be paid back into the fund. Because our approach was that we don't know what will happen in the future.
Right.
And we need to start the process of developing a formalized unemployment pension scheme. And you need to have the funds to be able to finance a scheme like that. And this was a good opportunity for us to start the process to have a properly structured and funded unemployment scheme within the system. And our plan is even more strengthened now that the fact that the Social Security Board could offer a $40 million grant. That money should be paid back to fund a scheme such as that to support workers and families during these very difficult times when they do occur. So I think that is something that we really need to rethink, and we need to look back how we can get that fund going, how we could better support workers and families in the future. Yeah,
because we don't know what's going to happen next year. I've had a few calls and conversations on the stimulus package, in particular the amount coming from Social Security and whether Social Security can in fact manage this grant. I've had amounts of $200 million, $700 million, even up to $1.2 billion thrown out at me, saying that's the kind of money Social Security is sitting on. Now you see my smile. I didn't realize until this point that Social Security actually printed money. Well, doesn't it? Don't you think that it prints money?
No, they don't.
They don't. The workforce in the BVI is probably some 15 to 17,000 workers. Probably a half of that keep up their payments into Social Security. Let the numbers work for you. Where on God's green earth would Social Security be getting this kind of money, even if it is investing on the stock market? Honorable Penn, do you agree with pulling this money from Social Security?
I agree that we need funding to fund the situation that we found ourselves in through no fault of the government's own, through the pandemic COVID-19. But if we are to take this money from Social Security, it ought to be a loan. A zero interest loan or a favorable loan, whether it's 1% or point something of a percent, to ensure that the pensioners' money is being secured. The reality is that I haven't seen or haven't heard the Premier in his deliberation talk about monies from the reserve. The whole purpose of the reserve fund is for a rainy day. If the day becomes any more rainy, we might have to build an ark like Noah.
Yeah,
because this is a rainy day. And I believe that we need to find a way to tap into our own monies, not just the pensioners' money, to help to support us during this process. And I believe if we are, to answer your question, if we are to take Social Security money, it has to be paid back. Whether it's deferred payments, whether it's zero interest loan, or is a preferred loan to help us during this period.
Okay. So, to your recollection, sitting on the government side in the past governmental year, last election, were you privy to the bottom line at Social Security?
We had some discussions. We did some adjustments when we did NHI. We looked at there were some actuary studies that looked at the numbers. I know during the 2008 world economic crisis, the fund took a hit. And lost some large sums of monies. And I expect the same to be true now concerning the crash of the stock market during this pandemic. So I think the numbers were fluctuating between 600 million, between $600 to $700 million and thereabouts. But I haven't seen any recent numbers in terms of what is the bottom line of Social Security. We don't know.
When was this study done?
I can't recall. I don't want to misrepresent the date.
Sure.
So, but the reality is that we need to have more up-to-date information in terms of what the actual situation is now with the Social Security funding. A lot of that money, once it's invested, it has penalties if it's broken.
Right.
So we don't know what portion currently is invested.
Right.
We don't know what portion is liquid assets in terms of the fund's liquid assets.
Right.
And where is this $40 million coming from? That level of detail is important for the public and for the pensioners and the contributors to make sure that so they could be comforted that their money is secured, that they know that the fund is solid, is sound, and is based on some solid footing in terms of where this money is coming from.
Yeah. So you're saying that you're not sure that the government can actually safely afford to draw down on our Social Security.
I am saying that I don't have enough information to understand why the basis for what the government did. Because the reality is that the devil's in the details. And we have not been privy to those details. One of the things, we have a House meeting that's coming up on the 11th, and we will endeavor to ensure that we get that information to the public, to make sure that we have a clear picture of the Social Security Board's financial position currently. And that's important for us. And it's important for the government, though. If you're going to take $40 million of pensioners' money, you need to tell them
Correct.
The details and what that means for them.
I fully agree.
Yeah, so we'll look forward to hearing that information.
Okay. With all due respect, it is time for the people to be presented with a report from Social Security on the management of its money. Yes, I say our money because all funds into Social Security comes from the people. It was created as a retirement fund, so to speak, and also covers maternity and sick leave. Honorable Premier, the people demand a report on Social Security. We need to know how much has been drawn down from Social Security by governments for loans over the years, where investments are being made, and exactly how much is in the fund at this present time. We need the study done by Derek Osborne, certified actuary of Mono Chapel, to be made public as well. The fact that a study had to be done to ensure that we could indeed use this money raises a red flag for me. It may not have had to, but it does for me. Because if you have unlimited funding, We need the hard evidence made available to us that Social Security can in fact handle this $59 million drawdown. Now I know this request may go unanswered, however, I am making it. The record will show that this request has been made. As most of you may be aware, I am a huge advocate for the Freedom of Information legislation, which all elected government administrations to date have failed to bring to the people. It is in situations as this why such legislations are extremely important. We can no longer, and it should have never been the case anyway, however, we can no longer sit and relax and let our elected go unchecked. This is the exact reason that we are here in this position that we are in today. Decades and decades of unaccountability to the people. Immeasurable trust bestowed on elected by its people squandered. Those days have come to an end, and any government that feels offended being checked by the electorate isn't a government to be trusted. Any government elected administration should be grateful that its citizens care and appreciate them enough to hold them accountable. So I am therefore appealing to the Premier of these Virgin Islands, Honorable Andrew Foy. I know that you are listening. Make this information on Social Security available to the people. It is our business, it is our right, and we need to know the details. Honorable Penn, why was the Freedom of Information legislation unable to make it to the House under your government? What is your response to that?
I don't know if I have the exact answer, Cindy. I know it's a piece of legislation that we've been discussing. It's been on the table for some time. Even previous administrations discussed moving this legislation forward. What I would say now is that it's something that we support. I think something that needs to come forward because, as the current premier likes to say a lot, you can't be private in the public.
Correct.
And when you're doing public business, you need to be open and transparent and accountable to the public for public information. So that while we're here debating and discussing right now in terms of the details about the report and all that type of information will be public knowledge. One of the things that our administration did when we were there was to make cabinet decisions public. That wasn't the case before. So now every decision that is made in cabinet comes out as an extract, and that those decisions are made public to the people of the territory that gazetted. So that was a step in moving forward in terms of freedom of information and the flow of information. Do we need to go a step further? I agree. We need to go a step further and put proper legislation in place so that the media, and in particular, and public citizens, if they want to know anything about the contract, anything about the things that the government are doing that are not trade secrets or are not, in this classified information, can be made public. And I think I'm open to that, and I think it should have been done a long time ago, but we're here now, and that's what we need to do, get it done.
Yeah, I feel like this has been like decades in the making, that we've actually been asking for this particular legislation, and any legislation that, brings government into the sunshine. And I feel that it's unfortunate that we are in 2020 and we are still unable to have a piece of legislation like this make it to the House of Assembly. So I personally will keep pushing for this.
As you should.
And I hope that before the year is over, that the government would see it fit to bring it to the House so that we actually have legs that we can stand on when we're asking them questions. Because as it is now, we can't really ask the government anything and they feel that they should answer.
And what I would say though, Cindy, one of the initiatives that I started is that a question and answer segment from the public in the House of Assembly. I again make a petition to the people of this territory. If there any particular information that you want to know, that you want to be made public in the House of Assembly, send me your questions. I will ask the questions on your behalf. Send them to my honorable colleagues in opposition. We will ask the questions on your behalf. I've gotten at least 6 questions for the upcoming sit-in from persons from the public and the community who are concerned specifically about Social Security and about a lot of other things that are happening. I didn't think that we need to have that information in the public sphere. And I will, as the leader of opposition, as a member of the opposition, ensure that information those questions are asked and that information comes public for the people of this territory. So there's that avenue for now to get that information out to the public.
Yeah, it sounds great, that well, we're going to receive this money and monies that will become available, and I know that people are excited. However, our social security should not be rated to make this happen. I don't know how else to say that. Our future should not be traded for our present, okay? There's absolutely no reason why this 42 million slush fund, and I call it a slush fund, could not come from central government. The fact that we cannot pull $42 million from central government says that we are either in serious trouble, or we want to have a cake and eat it too, or our need to circumvent the UK is bigger than a secure future for our people. Let me explain, and you can jump in here if you think I'm saying something wrong, etc. Not only is government unwilling to lay off civil servants, which is a good thing. I believe it should be a last resort, restructuring, move around people to suit their strengths, training, whatever. So not only are they unwilling, but government cannot afford to lay off civil servants. Is that correct?
I don't know if they can't afford to. I think they're leaving as you said, a last resort, last option. I think one of the key things during this crisis in particular, what we need to do is keep persons employed so that the system continues to revolve.
I agree, but the discussion has been on the table, and I think it's one of the 33 things that the UK has on their list if you ever need to really reduce spend is to downsize the civil service. But is downsizing the civil service something that government can actually do? Do they actually have the money to pay out civil servants?
They can do it if they want to. There's certain civil servants who are not probably pensionable that they could retrench their daily paid workers, that they could do so. But I think we have to look at how can we create stability in the economy. What it means retrenching persons into other areas, be developing the private sector, the business sector, so persons could transition from government into running their own business. A lot of persons right now in government have their own businesses. Make it encompass, put them in a position where that would be their option.
So empower them to
move on, do their own businesses, or give them some other options. Because at the end of the day, we just don't want to put our people out without other options and other opportunities. I think it's the government's responsibility to expand and look for those opportunities where they're possible for persons who are working with the civil service and even persons who are working in the private sector. That's why we have to find ways, if we're going to take this kind of money from Social Security, to stimulate the economy. You're given a grant, okay? We're going through a process of a 3-month grant period. But if we haven't stimulated the economy, haven't created jobs or get persons working again, in the next 3 months, we'll be at the same place that we are right now.
Right.
We're not hearing talks about how we're going to restart the tourism sector, which is a very critical sector in this territory. It employs majority of the people that work in this territory. Every household have somebody who is some way related to tourism in this country.
Correct.
So we have to find a way to get tourism going again. Whether it's getting tourism restarted internally, we've put out some plans and some ideas to make sure we do it in a safe way. The propaganda machine is out there saying that, oh, Marlon want to bring people here to make all of we sick, which is nonsense. Why would I want my citizens and my people to be sick? We have to figure out how we can coexist with COVID-19 as a territory and as a global economy. And we've recommended some safe measures and some things that we could do. Advanced testing, there are protocols that are being put in place by the airlines. How can we adopt the airlines protocol to make sure that when people come here, they're free? We have the rapid tests that are out there. It could be done in 15 minutes. I hear some of them in 15 or so minutes. And not only that, Cindy, we have our neighbors who are going to eat our lunch when it comes to our economy. We have, St. Thomas is reporting a record number of boats in their waters. That is money for persons who have moorings, money persons for the provisioning companies, money for the docks, the dry docks when they haul up and do the maintenance. That is money that we have lost as a territory, monies that our people have lost because our industries and by extension benefit from these boats. And these are boats that want to come to the BVI. We have to figure out how can we safely bring these boats to the BVI, how can we keep them safe and keep our people safe. Also, while we stimulate the economy, we can do it. If this situation continues for the next 2 to 3 years, you're telling me that we're going to close our economy for 2 to 3 years? We cannot afford to continue to inject $62 million every 3 months into the economy.
Correct.
We have to get the economy.
We can't even afford this.
Exactly.
So We are in what they say, between a rock and a hard place,
yeah.
and trying to decide how to safely reopen the economy.
Yeah, I mean, we are people, Cindy, that has great ingenuity. The BVI has always been driven by its entrepreneurs and their ability to drive economy, create ideas, create a lot of the long-standing business, the Clarence Thomas, the Skeleton Concrete. Those are businesses that have been here for decades, generational businesses. So we have the ingenuity as a people to find ways to get our economy going again. We did it after hurricanes in Irma and Maria. We had a damage of over $3.4 billion, a totally decimated tourism sector. And the next year after that, we had our best tourism year ever because of the people's ability to take up from the ashes, like a phoenix rise from beneath the ashes, and move on and get ourselves going. Let's give our businesses a chance to do that. Let's put the protocols in place to keep them safe. They themselves have suggestions about these protocols. Let us work together to get our economy going again.
Yeah, I feel like we are just going to be depleting a retirement fund, just pulling this $40-odd million out as a grant. And so, it's hard to look at the pensioner and say, we're going to pull all this money out and we're not sure what's going to happen. It's the only retirement fund, I think, that we have to look forward to. I mean, and if that is depleted, what are we going to do? Yeah. It rocks. The use of our Social Security fund is irresponsible to me, to say the least, and high disregard for the future of hard-working individual. If what I am saying is not so, I call on the sitting administration to present the reports to the people. Prove me wrong. Prove to the people that we can handle this payout and that our Social Security pension is not at stake. Okay? We're going to take a couple minutes break and we'll be right back.
Some claim that the age of a true gentleman is far behind us, but here at 284 Media, we disagree. He may appear in different guises today, but the values and ideals that make him a gent still stand. 284 Media proudly presents its newest talk show, The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, with yours truly, Ron Grant. A show poised to help guide modern-day men into 21st century distinguished gentlemen. Don't worry, it's not all about suits and bow ties, but raw, real-life lessons that translate to grounded, community-minded, well-rounded men. The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, a 284 Media production.
Eco? 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 Everyone is speaking about eco-friendly products. We wanted to take the time to introduce the Eco Island brand. Eco Island is a brand dedicated to providing you with a reliable and cost-effective solution. Eco-friendly products for your restaurant, hotel, bar, office, and home. With takeaway trays, bags, cups, paper straws, cutlery, and cleaners. For more information, follow us at Eco Island 100. Are you a business owner? Business owners are very busy thinking on ways to grow. Wouldn't you like a vendor that makes life easier? P3 Paper Plastic Products offers 24-hour WhatsApp ordering. So, whether you're on vacation, at a sporting event, or, I don't know, forgot, P3 Paper Plastic Products has got you covered with great prices, better service.
We want to break down this $42 million slush fund grant a little bit more. I first of all need us to understand that a grant means that it is money that will not be paid back. I need us to understand that this $42 million that will be used will not be paid back into our Social Security fund. Okay? This is not a loan, but free money being taken from your government, from your Social Security fund to simply give away. That is the stark reality. However, bear in mind that Social Security will have to find a way to replace this $42 million because it is not their money. It is yours. So let's talk about this slush fund. As we mentioned, $10 million will go to unemployed affected by COVID-19. What are the requirements for receiving this benefit? Is Social Security payments being up to date one of those requirements? We have 6.5 million that will go to businesses. Is paying into Social Security a requirement for these businesses? Are these small and micro businesses, or is this open to all businesses? Why is the entire amount of the grant? Why is the entire amount a grant for businesses and not available as small, manageable loans to said businesses? Will this money to businesses cover staff as well, seeing that there is an unemployment fund? How will this money be paid back to our Social Security? What are the requirements for receiving these funds? Should NHI and Social Security be up to date at the minimum? My fear is that those who will benefit from this grant are those persons and businesses that have not been paying into Social Security for the past years, have not seen the need or benefit to pay into this scheme, but now need it. This in particular is the very reason these funds should have come from central government and channeled through our already established and underfunded Social Services Department. And then we have 1 million for hospitality businesses, 1 million for churches, 2 million for farmers and fisher folk. We committed this in phase 1 and didn't have the money. 1 million for taxi operators, 1 million for social needs. So in addition to 10 million for unemployment, 3.59 million additional district funds to give away, we're adding another cool million just for the heck of it. I mean, make it rain, but from whose account? 7.5 million for NHI, pouring water into a basket. This is a bailout for NHI, not stimulus. Restructure this program or shut it down. 9 million for homes affected by Irma and Maria. Is it only me, or are we missing $1 million somewhere? I'm coming up short of $1 million. I think there's talk of another 2 million for further infrastructure. So the government needs to ensure the bare minimum to assist in making it through the effects of COVID-19. So why is all of this necessary at this time? Why the splurge, and why from our Social Security?
You've said a mouthful there, Cindy, and like I always say, the devil's in the details. I think the reality is right now, since March, there have been a lot of persons who've been out of work. A lot of persons who are currently struggling to maintain their family, maintain their livelihood, and businesses that are extremely in bad shape right now, who have depleted many of them, their reserve fund, their own savings account. So the people of this territory, there's no doubt, need help and need help right now. Again, is the devil in the details. What is the process, as you rightfully asked, are we going to go through to make sure that these persons that really need the support gets the support? You have situations where businesses are saying to me, I've got a call just before I got to your show, Cindy. A business called me, the red tape. What is the red tape for me to get the support to keep my business afloat? I will be better off. I would prefer you give me a loan and let me pay back. Let me be able to do the things necessary.
And I believe that businesses are actually willing to do that. They just want the option or opportunity to for funds to be made available for them to use. I don't think that they're here looking for handouts. I think they just want to be able to keep their businesses afloat. You're right, there are a lot of questions coming in because we don't know how any of this fund is going out, how it's being managed, what are the requirements. There are farmers that have applied and they were told that there is a 3-year minimum of farming. If you can get any of the fund, just to get any of the fund. The Premier, on the other hand, is saying that this is an opportunity for new business as well. So there is some confusion in the space.
Exactly, and if you want to jump in the farming and fishing space, this is an opportunity that is ripe for us to really start the conversation and really tangibly do things in terms of our own food security. From in April, early April or late March, there was announced this $2 million was available for the territory, for farmers and fishermen in the territory. I myself suggested, made push to some of the persons that I know have been in this industry for a while, and up to date they have not gotten any proper response. I understand there's not even an application form for this process. So my concern and my fear is that the time will lapse. When person do get the support or get the money just goes into person's hand, or equipment is bought, fencing is bought, and it doesn't go to the areas where we could really see impact for short crops, impact for ensuring that the fisheries and the infrastructure is in place for fisheries. We destroyed the fishery building that was at next to the port. You are not hearing any plans in terms of where we're going to develop the next fishing depot. We have not identified a location. We have not identified monies to build a fisherman port in this process of the stimulus or the recovery of the territory. You have not even seen in the budgetary process where money was allocated. I'm hearing that there's a restructuring of the budget that's happening, but there's no conversation.
Right.
The budget is law. And if you want to restructure the budget, you have to come to the House to do that, whether it's through a SAP or supplementary appropriation,
right,
or some kind of budget restructuring exercise. And the legislators, all 13 of us, need to be part of that process. So we need to understand what the details are. The public needs to understand what the details are. There are people who haven't had a paycheck in 3 months.
Yeah.
That's the lines at Social Security.
Right. And as you're saying that, I hear the government speaking. I hear you saying there are people that are laid off. We need to take care of these people. The economy, I will say, is in a bit of shambles because one of our entire legs is down. So it catches me off guard when, you have the Minister for Labor is saying, stay. I'm going to extend for 6 months. Hang around. We're going to feed you. Until you find a job, there's no priority there for Virgin Islanders. How do you measure? I just don't get how the decisions are being made and why they're being made. If you don't have money, why are you saying to people to stay? I'm going to feed you, especially people that actually have no ties to the BVI.
And there you go, your unconventional government. There's no connection in terms of the decisions that are being made, Cindy, and that is what scares me the most. And I mentioned earlier about the economy.
Yeah, because on one hand you're feeding everybody, on the next hand you're taking their 7% and you're not letting them send out money because you want to hold on to it and let it circulate through the economy, and then you're saying, stay, we're gonna feed you. I don't get it. I don't get it.
And neither do I. And that's why I'm seeking answers so we can get clarity on the process and what is the plan for the overall secure the overall economy. Because you cannot remove tourism from an economy and depend solely on financial services. That was already struggling prior to COVID-19 with all the effects from the EU, the beneficial ownership issues, and all the issues that financial services continues to experience. We have to find a way to get tourism back up and running, and we need to have that conversation openly. We, as the opposition, have already started that conversation with persons within the tourism space. We have a meeting scheduled with a group from the boating industry, the yacht industry, and the ancillary businesses that support that industry, because they're concerned. They have grave concerns. And
right,
I think,
as they should.
And I think we need to be able to get the information from those persons. They have great ideas of how things could be done to secure the industry, get the industry back up and running, how we can keep the persons on the ground safe, how can we keep our visitors safe and get that aspect of our economy moving again. We have to put our people back to work. Unless every 3 months we will have to find $62 million to put into the economy. And if you ask me, if no money's coming in, it's simple mathematics. If no money's coming in, you can either take it out. At some point, there's going to be a point of no return where the cupboard is going to be bare. Yeah. So we have to find a way to coexist and get things moving.
So my take on all this is that instead of making adjustments to accommodate this unexpected crisis, our government administration is hell-bent on seeing their plans through while in office and finding a way to accommodate this crisis at the same time. It is impossible. Something has to give. Forgo some of the planned capital projects and concentrate on turning our economy around. We're still rebounding from the devastations of Maria. Put those monies toward the COVID-19 recovery and leave our Social Security Fund alone. I'm really testy about this Social Security Fund. Inject confidence into the business space so that companies can make projections and therefore plans. Stop operating ad hoc. Yes, we're a part of the world and the global pandemic, but we are not in the same boat. as the rest of the world. So stop crippling our local economy. Honorable Premier, 3 things. Walk away from our social security monies. Kill some of the capital projects in your administration's plan for your tenure. Apply that money to the COVID-19 recovery. I promise you'll come out like a shining leader, showing the people that your government actually really cares. We'll take a short break and be right back.
In the final analysis, we have 2 options. Stay inside and create memories that will last forever, or go outside and say goodbye to those memories. We're not stuck inside, we're safer inside. The time is now to unite, embrace, and love each other from a distance. Show the world and the people in it just how much they mean to you by keeping your distance. It may be difficult, but necessary. Let's reintroduce humanity and heart to all homes. While we can't enjoy the sun, sand, and sea, let's take this time to remember why we are nature's little secrets. Stay inside, and when it's over, we would all be better, stronger, and we would all still be together. With self-discipline and patience, we can overcome. We are, have been, and will always be VI Strong. A message from your team at 284 Media.
Honorable Penn, I wanted to ask you, what is your take on actual grant money being put towards capital projects?
Well, Cindy, that is one of the most concerning aspects to me. I mean, you raise a very, very important and valid point in terms of using grant money to fund the government's agenda. The government has recently a budget of close to $400 million. Of course, that's going to be impacted because of the fall short and the fall off from tourism and other aspects of the economy. But there's monies there. Monies were allocated in terms of loans. There were $25 million in loans that was approved through the medium-term fiscal plan, the MTFP. And to take grant money, not just grant money, but grant money from Social Security and the pensioners to continue on your agenda, I think is irresponsible. We have to figure out a way where we could restructure our budgetary process. We recommended that in our plan, and how we can get monies freed up to put towards the things that are priority. And priority right now has to be the economy. Has to be, how are we going to put business back in operation? How are we going to keep our businesses going? How are we going to get our economy going? And how are we going to help those workers and families who are struggling after they've been laid off and the shutdown of the territory? And using Social Security grant money to do pet projects or whatever projects that are in place, while some of them might be valid, you have to find ways to restructure your current process to be able to fund your projects and then focus on getting the economy going so that those entities, the Social Security Board, tax revenue, and all those other things that are important that drive economic activity and economic growth in the territory continues to happen. And I've not seen a plan or focus to make that happen, and it's very concerning to me.
Okay, I want to speak on the issue that we're facing with the UK, but I briefly want to discuss the affordable housing project. The Honorable Ronnie Skelton broke ground on this project back in 2017. $14 million was allocated under Social Security for this project. So to add this to the stimulus package is kind of disingenuous. The money, well, most of it was already designated. To move the project forward will help the economy on a whole. However, I have some queries. Why has the amount for this project gone up by $3 million? And not only that, but the number of houses went down. The initial injection for this project was 14 million. It is now 17 million. The initial number of homes to be built was 53. It is now 43. Honorable Premier, can you enlighten us? I'm sure there is a reason. We would love to hear it. Might I add that based on crunching initial numbers, that this will not equate to affordable housing. 250,000 would be considered affordable housing. These homes will be closer to 500K, if not more, especially if it is indeed an investment project by Social Security. I'm just saying, and for the record, people making 100K and up should not have access to affordable housing, to an affordable housing scheme. Honorable Penn, in your opinion, what would be the cause for driving up this project? What would be the factors in driving it up?
Well, I don't know. What I'll be doing is giving an assumption, Sydney, but I'm sure it's time value of money. The project was, as you said, was slated to start in 2016, which we broke ground on this project under the leadership of the Honorable Ronnie W. Skelton at the time. Things happened in terms of the project. It didn't get a chance to really kick off. But we're now, it's the same project. Nothing has changed with the project other than the cost. I agree that one of the things that we recommended...
And the number of houses.
Number of houses. One of the things that we recommended in our proposal is to get construction going and get this project going, which I'm glad and happy to see that the government has done this. Because construction activity creates jobs. It creates ancillary opportunities for persons throughout the territory, the vendors, the suppliers, the laborers, and all the different things. But I'm hopeful that the contractor who's been selected, I'm hearing talk that that's his intention, to subtract as much of the work as possible.
That would be great. That would be great.
That would be great for persons in the construction industry to spread the wealth, so to speak, and get more persons involved in the actual building of these homes. I know he's a man of his word, and I know he will probably push forward in making that happen. And that's something that I think we should have made clear from the onset, to ensure that more of that money spreads around in the economy. But it's important. It's an important project, I believe. It's something to get construction going. I too am concerned with the cost of the homes, and how many persons will really be able to afford those homes is the concern for me, if that's the intent of making homes affordable to our people.
Okay. I want to touch on the UK and her overseas territories. I'm 46 years old. Yes, I am. And for the most of my life, I've heard our elected representatives throwing around this "the UK wants to take us over" phrase. I mean, they had me as a young person or someone not willing or able to think critically. They had me. I totally believed it. Saw the UK as our enemy. Not until recently, probably in the past 10 years, had it occurred to me to pay close attention to this statement, the times it's used, its benefits. Now it's a touchy subject. I am not a fly on the inner walls of our cabinet, and unfortunately, we do not have the means to effectively request documents from our government. But I feel it's time that our sitting government administrations share the proof of this statement with us. This statement, I feel, is a political string dangling over our heads, and our inability to research, pay attention, and think critically is proving devastating to the growth of these islands. Understand that we continue to elect administrations that refuse to be held accountable for the management of these islands. Honorable Penn, what is your take on the protocols for effective financial management? Do you believe that this is good for the BVI? Do you see it as a trapdoor?
I want to clear up a couple of things first and foremost about the protocol, Cindy. I mean, there's some self-proclaimed experts on the protocol that are going around making presentations on the protocol and claiming who was done and who didn't do and who did this and didn't do that. But the reality is that the protocol was something that was put in place on all overseas territories. It wasn't something specific for the BVI. People are claiming that because of poor financial management, we had to put the protocols in place. It had nothing to do with that. It was a framework for governing how you spend government finances. And before that, we had what we call the borrowing guidelines, which was similar to the protocols, where you had certain ratios in terms of how you could borrow money and how you could operate in the economic space. And it's just pretty much guidelines to help us through the process. Okay. With guidelines and with these type of things, you will always have those concerns. And I think we should always continue to evolve as administration to ensure that whatever documents we put in place, we make sure we improve upon them for the people and the citizens of the territory.
Correct.
But to say that the protocols were a hindrance in the government borrowing any money or doing anything in terms of the recovery is totally false. Because after Hurricanes Irma and Maria, it is because of our reserve and because of those things that were in place that we were able to get monies into the economy and start our recovery process. If we had started that process of bickering with the UK government and not have a proper partnership in terms of the discourse, in terms of what needs to happen for our territory and our people, we'd have been in a very bad position.
Okay.
And I'm very uncomfortable right now with our relationship currently with the United Kingdom, and we have to figure out as a territory what direction we want to go. I'm not saying that if there's issues with the way that the UK representative or the UK is handling us, we need to have those discussions. But to have those discussions the way they're happening in the public space
Correct.
is very dangerous.
Yes, it is. And I want to speak specifically to the protocols for effective financial management issue that has been on the table for the past year, but more so in the past few months. In 2009, the Turks and Caicos, a sister overseas territory, had her constitution partially suspended. This happened due to rampant corruption and mismanagement of the people's money under the then administration. It was so bad that the people of that territory welcomed the suspension. While trying to get the Turks and Caicos back on their feet and restoring her constitution, the UK had a review of her territories, and it decided that procedures must be put in place to ensure the territories manage their finances properly so that there wouldn't be a repeat of what happened in Turks. You've never had this relayed to you in this manner, correct? No. What you will hear, though, is that the UK put this on us so that we could slip up and they slip in and take us over. Only the BVI sings this tune, I might add. I have read the protocols for effective financial management, the requirement for borrowing across the board from any lending institution. For me, for you, for any company would be determined based on your debt to income ratio. Why should we be any different? Why should any government be held to any different standards, correct?
And I agree, Cindy. I think governments over time have a responsibility to ensure
Correct.
that they properly manage the finances of the territory and manage in a responsible way. And as a territory, we have always been responsible stewards of our finances. We have always paid our debt as a territory. We borrowed loans. We had loans for the hospital. We had
Right.
several different loans that we financed in terms of getting initiatives and infrastructural things going.
Yeah.
And we've always been good stewards.
Correct. And for me, what I feel the UK is saying to all of her territories by issuing this document is to keep yourselves in check. Use these measurements to monitor yourself because we don't want to do it. We have our issues. Try to take care of yourself. Stand on your own 2 feet. Be responsible, be accountable to your people. To me, it is a form of autonomy, and that is what we say that we want. The fact is, based on our arrangements with the UK, any mistakes or problems we fall into that we are unable to manage becomes the UK's problem. And they're saying to us, we have enough of our own. We cannot afford to take on any more. So please monitor yourself with these guidelines. If we are honest and real with ourselves, the BVI for decades has spent money as if we print money, billions out the door with no accountability. We're now borrowed to the hilt, an economy barely hanging on, the bare minimum in our reserves. What do we have to show for all of this money? The sad thing is that we have been unable and continue to prove that we are unable to manage ourselves in an accountable manner. One of the bare minimum requirements of the UK in this financial management agreement is for us to pass this freedom of legislation information. And we refuse to get that done. Why? Because the honest truth is our government administrations and those that support and benefit from their bad behavior refuse to be held accountable. Meanwhile, the UK is determined, while we're under them, to hold our feet to the fire. Okay? Yes, the whole world is going through COVID. The UK is saying, we cannot fund you, but bring a plan to us. We will review it, and we will all come to an agreement. If you have to withdraw money from the reserves, let us know when the monies will be restored so that you can come back into compliance. I don't see this as difficult. As I mentioned previously, our government isn't willing to forgo on any of their planned projects while in office. So the truth is, taking our social security as a grant and not a loan is the only option available to avoid dealing with the UK. In other words, I see this as sacrificing our future so that they could look good next election. What a trade, right? I won't lie to you and say that it isn't clear as day that the government administration and the governor are having a power struggle. It is obvious, but that isn't a part of this big picture. By all means, I feel Governor Jasper is exerting himself too much and definitely needs to fall back some and allow our elected representatives to work. He is definitely too much in the forefront, more than any governor I've seen in this territory, actually, and more than I am observing of the governors in other territories. However, the drama by this government administration and past administrations that they are saying this saving this country from the UK is just that, drama. Political drama distracting from the real issues. This continued, fostered bad relationship is hindering a smooth working relationship with the UK and holding us back from progressing. This territory has yet to see the evidence of this strained relationship. What evidence is there? We'll take a break and we'll come right back to wrap up.
Is business slow, cash flow down, hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Father Jesus, that line here long like church service.
Alright, do enjoy the rest of the day. Next customer in line, please. Wait, hold on a second.
Yes, Sonny boy, come, yes, son.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sonny boy. Over there. You must have cut fun topic.
It's okay, I'll take care of it.
What? No man to take care of me.
How may I assist you? You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Honorable Penn, what is your position on all that I've said just now with the UK?
Well, I think you've said a lot, and what I will say to that is that we have a responsibility to manage the affairs of the territory. There's some level of evolved responsibilities that is covered in the Constitution, that is covered in the different governing legal frameworks that are there, and we should fulfill our responsibilities through that. As well as the UK has their responsibility in the Constitution and certain frameworks, and we need to respect the UK's position.
I agree.
And the reality is that until we're independent, that is a relationship that we have. And,
Correct.
and when you have a relationship and a partnership, you have to manage that partnership. And the way to deal with your partner is not to always blast them in public. You have a proper conversation with your partner. We're going through the constitutional review now. If there are things that are now working with these relationships, those are things that we need to bring forward in terms of the constitutional review and ensure that the governor or whoever does not overstep their bound in terms of what is the construct that governs our relationship. And we should always hold the UK to account for the things that they are accountable for.
Absolutely.
And we should never be afraid to hold them accountable for what they are accountable for. But it's a way you do that. And the public spats that I'm hearing is not the responsible way to have a conversation with your partner if you're in a partnership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are a few extra things on my mind that I'm going to wrap up with. Has it puzzled anyone else as to why the Premier and his government, at least his Deputy Premier, has taken to call Her Majesty's the loyal opposition, the tri-party opposition? What is the intention of this label? I simply cannot get it out of my head. Is it meant to divide? Belittle them? What does it mean? Might I add that I find it so disrespectful. I have never not once heard the past Premier, Dr. Orlando Smith, refer to the last opposition as a bi-party opposition. What does this say to you when things like this come from our Premier?
It is embarrassing, to be quite frank, Sydney. It shows the level of political immaturity of our leadership and the very top brass of our leadership. This is coming from our Premier and our Deputy Premier. And
Absolutely.
it's very unfortunate to hear them speak that way. We as our Majesty loyal opposition has a responsibility. And when I I looked up the word triparty or tripartite, it says strength and stability. And we are showing our strength and our stability. It seems like when anyone seems to call this government out or call them to account for their actions, they're being labeled, they're being bullied, they're trying to intimidate them. But I'm going to make it clear to the Premier and his deputy, there's no way that he or his deputy or his government going to intimidate me, any member of the opposition. We have a role to play, we have a job to do, and we'll continue to do our job. We told the Premier at the end of his first year, we gave him an opportunity to set his agenda for his government. He was a new Premier, and we thought it was fair to give him a fair opportunity to get his hands around the wheel. He had totally new members. None of them had any kind of political experience prior to being elected, and we were fair in our approach. But the Premier, we as opposition have a job to do. And we told the Premier at the end of December, we're going to hold you account for the job that you have to do on behalf of the people of this territory. And that is a job that we're going to execute.
And he did a very good job of holding you guys accountable when he was on the opposition. He was a great opposition leader.
And we didn't call him names. We didn't call him names. And it's unfortunate that this level of immaturity has stepped into our politics.
Yeah, I'm
really embarrassed by the deputy
I don't
Premier.
like it.
I heard him reeling on a show some time ago, and I was really embarrassed by his behavior. And I thought he would have a little more maturity, more respect for the process. But after I saw how they dealt with the media, I mean, it looked like anything goes with this administration these days.
It was that handling was quite interesting. I want to touch on the passing of Mrs. Idris O'Neill, OBE. She passed away last Sunday. I extend my condolences to her daughter, Abby, and to the rest of the family. On her passing, I suggested that our flags be flown at half staff in her honor. We are a week in and nothing. However, there may be plans to do so. So I will not rush the brush. We talk a lot on our heritage and culture and trying to maintain and preserve that. And so I feel like this is one of those times that we can honor a national treasure in this way, because I feel that that's what Mrs. O'Neill was. May she rest in peace. Cut Deep will be looking to get to the bottom of our issues in an effort to drive true change for this territory we love. I know it bothers people when I say that the BVI is behind, but we are in all aspects. And for all that our forefathers and generations before have sacrificed, it doesn't do justice to their memory. Let us try harder for them and for future generations of these beautiful Virgin Islands. Honorable Penn, I thank you for being here and for being our first guest. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you to our listening audience for joining us. Good night and see you next week.
Some claim that the age of a true gentleman is far behind us, but here at 284 Media, we disagree. He may appear in different guises today, but the values and ideals that make him a gent still stand. 284 Media proudly presents its newest talk show, The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, with yours truly, Ron Grant. A show poised to help guide modern-day men into 21st century distinguished gentlemen. Don't worry, it's not all about suits and bow ties, but raw, real-life lessons that translate to grounded, community-minded, well-rounded men. The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, a 284 Media production.